what do you think is behind all of this? I mean, do you genuinely think there's, a thing called climate I mean, of course, the climate changes.
Yeah,
Of course, there's a thing called climate change, climate changes.
right.
There's a thing called climate change that's a threat to the Earth, a threat to Canada, that needs a response, concern,
Sure.
fear.
Yeah. What do I think is behind it? I think that, again, we're going down this rabbit hole, so I'll answer honestly. But I think that there is a conspiracy. I think there is a globalist conspiracy, and through all of my reading, through everything that I've looked at, it just all points to the same thing. And I think that there is a conspiracy to sweep the Western nations into a global totalitarian system. And I think that one of the main drivers behind it is China. And I think that China has done a very good and effective job of cloaking itself in different non-government or organizations in the effort to steer like individual government policy in one direction, and that's to steer us toward things like digital IDs and carbon taxes and carbon trading systems and central bank digital currencies. I think what it really boils down to is control.
Mm.
And I don't know if China is the only actor, but through everything that I've read and through conversations with people like Sam Cooper, who is probably I would say Canada's top journalist, without question. There's no doubt in my mind that they are a major player in this. And I think climate change is just another component. It's another mechanism of fear to
Mhm.
scare people into thinking that the world is coming to an end, right?
And
And
therefore, you have to do what we say to keep you
that's right.
safe. Like, you have to get an EV, and you can only, use this much of the grid, and you have
That's
to
right.
have a 15-minute city because, you can't be driving around all the time because 'cause you're killing the
That's right.
world.
That's right. And
We need to, get rid of your cows because of methane.
and
No.
that's it. So I'll put it to you like this, right? So Mao Zedong, right? He was the psychopath sadist who brought communism to China. And Chairman Mao had a thing called the superpower plan. What the superpower plan was, it was the ambition to turn China into the global military power, to overtake the United States and Russia. And the way that he thought that he would do that was by acquiring nuclear weapons and holding the world hostage. So there were two components to his superpower plan. The first was the Great Leap Forward, and what the Great Leap Forward was a scenario where all of the Chinese peasants and Chinese citizens who, all of their agricultural products, all of their produce, all of their meat, everything that they grow for food in their country, they exported to other Soviet nations, or to Soviet nations, other communist nations mostly, in exchange for raw materials, right? And so what Mao was doing was he was building the industrial infrastructure to turn China into a superpower. And there was over 50 million people starved to death during this period because you can't eat steel, you can't eat iron, right? But Mao was creating the industrial infrastructure to turn China into a superpower. And what people would say is when you go to China, it's interesting because there aren't any leaves on the trees. And the reason why there weren't any leaves on the trees is because the peasants were eating them, and that was all they had to eat. Every ounce of food that they were growing was being sent to outside nations in exchange for raw materials. So what happens is the upper echelons of the Communist Party. Remember, communism is all about compartmentalization and isolating people. And Mao was a genius at this. What he did was he kept all of the top members of the Politburo away from each other, right? And so most of the people in the Communist Party had no idea what was happening at the time. So a guy named Liu Shaoqi goes back to his original village, and he realizes that most of the people in his village have all starved to death, or they're dying. They're so emaciated, they're on death's doorstep, right? Goes back and edges Mao out of power. I'm getting somewhere with this, so bear with me. Mao comes back, and what he does is he galvanizes the Chinese youth and creates what's called the Red Guard. And it's the second component of his superpower plan. It's the Cultural Revolution. Mao starts the Cultural Revolution. Liu Shaoqi is executed publicly. They purge all of the elements that were trying to take power back from Mao. And as a result, he brainwashes pretty much the entire country, what's left of it, into cultural Marxism. And I think that the powers that are seeking to control us are using that formula, but they realized that Mao had it backwards. What they did instead was they introduced the Cultural Revolution first, right? This Marxist revolution that we've seen in the West, and they're about to introduce our Great Leap Forward under the cover of climate change.
Mm.
That's what I believe,
Mm-hmm.
because you can see the same signals coming out of this climate change argument, right? Just like you said, we have to cull the cows. Well, what are cows? Cows are food, right? You've seen, and we've seen in the past, this like, weird propaganda of like crickets, like eating crickets or turning crickets into meat. Well, there's no real, like, aside from protein, there's no real nutrition in that food, right? So what they're doing, electric vehicles, what they're going to do with the electric vehicle thing is
Electric vehicles sorry to interrupt, but it drives me it's such a joke. It's like electric vehicles are not better for the environment than any other vehicle, and in all sorts of different ways, including the fact that they rely on these huge batteries that rely on slave labor in the Congo.
Yeah,
and that has destroyed the environment in the Congo.
That's right. But the key isn't driving sustainable vehicles. What it is they know that there's not nearly enough electricity. We can't generate the electricity for everybody. So what will happen is individual personal transportation will become a thing of the elites. The rest of us will walk or take public transport. That's the real ambition.
Or we all work online and we're living in 15-minute cities and we're not allowed to leave our 15-minute cities. There's not enough power in the grid, and climate change is part of the excuse for that. But it's you're allotted this much time that you're allowed to charge your vehicle this week, or you're allowed to drive this far every week. Total control.
That's right. And so what's going to happen with those 15-minute cities is those 15-minute cities become districts, and you're isolated to your district, and you will be. So I'm sure you've seen this, but there are different companies that are already offering for you to track your carbon footprint on an app on your phone, right? And that's a soft introduction of carbon credits. So what'll happen is you'll be assigned to your district. You'll live in your 15-minute city. Everything that you supposedly need will be within your 15-minute city, right? You'll be issued a universal basic income via central bank digital currency, which will be passed on to you through your digital ID. And with that will come carbon credits, and you'll be allotted a certain amount of carbon rations every month, right? Or every year. And you will have to use those carbon credits to leave your district. That's the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is to just put you in an open air prison. And that's our Great Leap Forward. That's what
feed you propaganda via the internet or the chip in your brain or whatever.
So the glitch in the system, the monkey wrench in the plan so far has been X. It's been Elon Musk.
Right, because the Canadian government has cracked down on social media to the point that it gets to control what Canadians see online. So that's already there. Those of us who are outliers and those of us who push back are either banned or we're just censored through algorithmic fuckery.
There it is, right? So you see it, right? Because you own your podcast. You have access to all your numbers, right? I do too. I see the way my shit is suppressed in the algorithm.
Right? I can see it, like Meta. Like, I mean, I don't even bother with Facebook because nobody can see my stuff. Some people, they let some people see my things on Instagram, but not outside my own followers. And even most of my followers don't see my stuff. I mean, if you look at your engagements, it's hilarious. Like, it's obvious that they're controlling, Canadians aren't, anyway, go on.
So that's the thing, right? Is that the real press right now is to censor the internet, and they're losing that battle. The good news is that they're losing all of this.
Yeah.
Right? Because people like you and I'll put myself in that group to a lesser degree. We have been loud enough and we've caught enough attention, and thank God for Joe Rogan. Thank God for Elon
Yeah.
Musk. Thank God for Russell Brand. Thank God for these
The fact
people.
that Rogan is as powerful as he is does speak to how badly they're
Right.
losing, because no matter what they do, he's still the most popular podcast in the world.
And they can't,
This conspiracy theorist, right?
right,
This dangerous man.
right. And look at what they tried to do to him with
Yeah.
the N-word thing, the ivermectin thing. You know what's funny about the N-word thing? I've been a listener of Rogan's for a long time. I know all of the fucking episodes that they took those clips from. And in every one of them, he's talking about the N-word in a derogatory way, saying, why is this word so hard on our ears? Why do we have this word? Does it exist? And he's asking philosophical questions,
Yeah.
right? But look at what they tried to do to him, and they were unsuccessful. They can't kill him. Kill Joe Rogan, you'll spark a revolution easily.